One. Chad Danieley.
Yep.
I nailed it. I'm like a name expert. So Chad, multimedia graphic designer, artist, graphics extraordinaire. And I was looking at your bio. You got a number of things up, but especially let me take a look here. And you're out in LA, so there's that time difference. All right.
Yeah.
Awesome, man. Thanks for coming on the show. So freelance designer and animator
Yep.
as well. So tell me a little bit more about what you do, tell me a little bit more about yourself, what you do, what you've been up to.
Pretty much all graphic design, motion design stuff. For you always want to go in when you're in school, you want to do movie titles, but you realize you only get about 2 of those so a year. The rest, so then just going to doing promo stuff, and stuff to sell, objects for like Amazon, Netflix, stuff like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Very cool. So a lot of After Effects, or
Yeah, mostly all After Effects for that part. But whenever like pitching and stuff, we'll just use whatever you got, Photoshop, Illustrator, stuff like that, just to get the frames that look nice, to sell it. And then usually it'll always end up in After Effects.
No, okay.
Secret, actually, I usually use After Effects for my boards, so I don't know why I keep saying Photoshop, but I find actually making boards in After Effects easier for me. A lot of designers will do Photoshop, and they'll do frames that are like but I'm like, I find making them in After Effects easier. It's weird.
Yeah. Well, also, no, go ahead.
Oh no, just so whenever they do so when it does get approved, you can just hit pretty much render.
Right. No, absolutely. I guess it's all about like what you're used to, because trying to jump into After Effects, I've been able to dabble with it, but we were talking offline. And Final Cut, I've been using Final Cut for maybe over 10 years now, and it's just, I have to somehow figure out, find some time to learn Premiere, maybe, because Premiere is like the #1 now. Right. And it's really hard to like switch from a program that you've been using for so long.
Yeah, and I use After Effects, and I still feel I'm like you. I learned on the minimal amount of editing I do in Final Cut, so I keep realizing I really should do it in Premiere, because practically I probably pretty much know it, since it's like the key commands and everything will like transfer probably with Premiere, but for some reason, I don't know, I'm probably lazy. The two together, I'm sure they work perfect, Premiere and After Effects. So
yeah, especially because like Adobe products are going to be like cross-platform friendly, or because they're all within the same creative suite. I don't know if that's even what it's called anymore.
Yeah,
it's just like
I know what you mean.
Yeah. What is that? Adobe? Because I actually have it right.
Creative Cloud.
That's what it is now. Creative Cloud. Yeah. So like Premiere will just absorb After Effects, and After Effects will just absorb a Photoshop project or whatever, and it's all like interchangeable.
It does get frustrating, because sometimes I just want a quick vector program. Like the Illustrator. Now Illustrator has so many Photoshop so many Photoshop style things, where usually it's like it's vector and pixels, and so they've been pushing them together, and so it kind of I just want something that's rasterous and it doesn't rasterize, and so sometimes they're getting too close together, but I can just ignore the part I don't like.
Right. Yeah. So from the sound of it, how have you been impacted by the quarantine, the last 8 months? It sounds like, based on what you do, and I don't mean to assume, but you still probably been working remotely, cloud-based, maybe, hopefully.
Yeah, it was like March happened, and then we just it was like a bomb exploded. Like literally, someone just like, the office just emptied, everyone went home, and I think I waited a day or two, and I was like, oh, I guess I'm supposed to apply for unemployment. And then then the next day after, like pretty much it's like, oh no, we got new projects. And so they started doing, it's basically the place that I was freelancing for retooled to kind of do more. In the beginning, I think the first 2 months was like we did a couple of those Facebook promo stuff where they're like for COVID and thanks to everyone and all this. So they kind of retooled for that quickly, and that was for about 2 or 3 months, and then the fun stuff started coming back, like because it was promos started to come back, and it was Tenet is the funny story, because I was working on Tenet, the Christopher Nolan piece,
Very cool,
for a year before that, and then we were doing all these animations, everything, and all these for the promos, and it was a joke because it was like it kept he kept pushing the date a little bit, and then he got to November. I think it was going to come out November 1st. No, what was it? Yeah, no.
Yeah, it was supposed to come out towards the holidays or something, right?
Sorry, yes, you're right. It was actually summer. Sorry, summer.
That's what it was.
July.
Yeah.
I did the promos and I don't even remember the date. The first, but it kept getting pushed back. I kept doing all the and then it got to the point where we kept revising 4 versions of cards for dates, and then I'm like, I don't think they just want to admit that it's not going to happen for a lot long, because they kept but it's cool, it's work, and then finally, it was finally that came out. So, but then they a lot of Amazon and Netflix stuff started really popping up, like a lot of I think they're just rolling a lot of everything they had in sort of their reserves, like stuff that they probably didn't think was top shelf, but I actually liked better. Like, I like all the, so it's like, oh, all the cool stuff's finally coming out that I thought would. And so this has been pretty much that since August. I feel bad. I've been working the entire time. It's like, it's been good for freelance, helped a lot because I can just kind of jump to places, but I do like creating, I like Elastic a lot, the place I freelance at. So they're my main one. So it's been, I haven't noticed a difference except for, I do like being around people, but so that part sucks.
Yeah.
So it's like, this works. This works for the time being. It's been a nice, I would like a hybrid version. I really, doing creative breaks and stuff like that with the group in person. There's nothing, and then go home. So the way I work, a lot of my stuff is I have this obsession with like letterpress and stuff like that. So it's like old vintage gear that you and I try to bring that into my work to and I feel like I don't know, it feels I don't know, flaws make me happy.
Yeah, man. Definitely.
They communicate human, and we don't even know what it's communicating. I can get all philosophical about it, but so a lot of my stuff is at home, so I like to do breakout stuff at the office, and then if we could do the second half of the week at home where I have all of my stuff, like just my stacks and stacks of stuff. But, just because I don't know, I like the I like computers, stuff like that. I've always been on them since 1984. I thought they were the future. I thought they're the way, but they're a third hand. They're not the hand. So I try to bring all those elements that I don't know, that make you versus the if I just stay within an application or After Effects or Illustrator and use those type, which is cool. I do that because there's a lot of short projects that need really. You can just use normal fonts and things like that. But if you want something special, pixel, other stuff, and using After Effects is kind of just the stitcher tool, just kind of to put it together of various elements that I bring into the work.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, there's a lot of times in my productions I might keep, there might be mistakes. It's not maybe not necessarily an outtake. Well, actually, yeah, there was, there was like this goofy kind of viral video we made for, a product that, one of my labels is sponsored by. And so we did this, YouTube kind of informational comedy, quirky commercial, I guess you could call it, for this energy drink. And so while I'm filming it, and a buddy of mine, he just starts making up stuff. and there's three of us in the car. So my buddy, he's driving, he's talking to the camera, and he's losing it. He just starts making up stuff, and and the guy in the back seat's looking at it, he's like, dude, none of this is true. And I kept it in the and I kept the whole thing in the commercial. You can hear me hold it, I'm holding the camera and I'm laughing. And we just kept it in there because it's like one of those organic raw moments where it's and a little goofiness like that might actually help sell the product.
It brought people into it. They felt like they were with you.
Yeah, because they're sitting there like, what is this guy talking about? But then we're honest to the audience that this guy is, hopped up on the energy drink, that he's making stuff up, and then they start laughing. They hear us laughing. It's this whole kind of like, we're in it with you, kind of organic little mistake. There was David Lee Roth had this word for it, wabi-sabi or something like that.
Oh, well, I'm a huge wabi-sabi fan.
Yeah. And so it's like the cracks in the bowls, and it's like these little flaws, these little imperfections, these little flaws that make it your own, that make it organic and honest and even better. I think it's like that. It's like that worn out jean jacket that only fits you, but it looks great on you, or something like that. And I've got, like this hoodie is so old and so, beat up and been washed 1,000 times, and I love it. I always wear it.
It's comforting, all the flaws in it.
Exactly. Yeah. And so it's like little moments, like you said, like to actually take something outside of After Effects, that's something that you like, that's organic to you, and it doesn't look as perfect and as crisp as if you only used After Effects and you only used Photoshop. You kind of did something more hands-on and maybe scanned it or whatever, but you're bringing in this more organic, personal touch to this, that, and the other, and implementing that. Yeah, absolutely. I couldn't agree more. There's
definitely wabi sabi is kind of I should have it behind my. Actually, I'm always like, just like it's the methodology behind that is pretty much exactly how I work. I've always liked things that are, I don't know. I find the flaw about people that they probably don't like about themselves, the thing that I love and like, and actually defines them as a human that as human. Like there's a part about it that some of the flaws are the actual category that help us categorize each other. Like meaning my flaw or that flaw or what, something about either as a visual or just me being as weird, talking strange as I do. Like, that's kind of a characteristic. And some people, you have the ones who are the perfectionists who don't understand what I'm doing, which is fine. But I think perfection is kind of a flaw. So
yeah, perfection is a flaw in and of itself. And I think, I butt heads with some, some partners, some colleagues, some clients, where it's like, okay, we could spend 7 years on this one music video if you wanted to, or we could knock out 7 music videos in 1 year.
Yeah.
And you kind of accept, it's like a fine balance between quality and quantity, but you kind of accept some imperfections. You accept, listen, man, I mean, you have to release this album at some point, and then and if you want music videos, the music videos have to kind of come out with the album.
Yep. So you have to be done, right? You have that three weeks.
There is that kind of like, there is somewhat of a deadline, and so it's fun to kind of play within that. But I'm not saying you got to stay up for 127 hours straight editing this project. You got to get some sleep, and it's got to get done. So it's like enjoy some of these rushed cuts, maybe, and enjoy some of these imperfections. It's.
Well, I like
art's not perfect.
You brought up something like the timeline wise. I think I like being in the promo side, where we're at in the timeline. Well, it kind of sucks, but but it has to be done. Like like we're not. I was like like on Tenet, like Christopher seems. I was getting the vibe. This guy is like, me and him would probably. We'd have different views about how his perfection level was admirable. I go, geez, man, this guy's like, how did he see that? Which is, there's all kinds for us. But I realized like I could do that for my entire life on one project, and so I have to. So I'm forced to have like in the promo area of stuff Christopher or whoever has to be pretty much done, really close to being done. And I have like, okay, 3 weeks, go. And I'm like, otherwise I could totally be like him and be and just be like, oh wait, there's that 2 frames on that one cut, that part. And I understand there's people like him who need that's what they do. Like, you know, they're, but I'm like, oh man, I would, when I see it, just like we were talking right before, it was like the editing is like, you get all this footage and I just like look at it as a toy box and be like, there's just too many possibilities here. I just have to go like, what every avenue. And so, yeah, so telling a picture, telling a story is definitely a high art that I don't feel I'm capable of.
And I'll disagree. You know, we talked a little bit offline about that, where like, okay, you might not have the attention span for an hour-long piece, you know, 30-minute piece, but a promo does tell a story. A trailer does tell a story. You know, these 15-second, these 30-second or 60-second promos, they're telling a story. They're telling a preview of a story, but within a preview, there is that story being told that has to capture you to go watch a bigger version, longer version of it. There is story, and there is a formula within that storytelling tool.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah. Cutting trailers. Those guys that I work with do cut trailers are actually sometimes think harder because of what you just brought up. They have to tell a story within 30 seconds.
Mm-hmm.
And watching, and I'll get to see all the cuts of all the trailers that I'll get versions, and they'll tweak for days on frames and so yeah, it's even probably not harder. It's just as hard to do a 30-second cut down for them.
For me, it's hard to fit into. If someone gives me a time frame, that's hard. You know, a lot of my stuff that goes on my channel, it's like I'll cut it however long I want. There might be, we have a number of different web series. We have a number of different, little projects going on. One episode might be 1.5 minutes. Another one might be 7. You see what I'm saying? And it's like, that's kind of like the freedom with new media, but that's a challenge fitting into a time block.
Yeah. And you have that 5-second end part that you have next to you. 25, everyone cuts, and then cool stuff in between, explosions, pacing. You got about 25 seconds, and no, that in itself is probably harder. Yeah. So
and to think about, like, when, I don't mean to date you, but I'm 40, so I remember all the shows I grew up on TV, all the TV shows. Growing up, I'm like, man, that's an hour-long show. Right. But then as I got into media, film and TV, I realized every episode's 44 minutes and 45 seconds long for a very specific number of commercial breaks.
Right.
So they have to not make it like Netflix, like one episode's 43 minutes, one episode's 57, one episode's an hour and one episode's 49. But when it comes to, like, let's say ABC, CBS, NBC, all those episodes are down to the second. Rigid. And it's like, okay, take 5 frames off of this shot, 5 frames. Oh, maybe we just cut that scene, maybe cut that shot in half, cut to black, cliffhanger, commercial break. It's like, what's very that rigid formula like? You know what I mean? And I think, I'm sure you have a basic formula. And as far as editing goes for me, I have a basic formula that I follow. It's like making a cake. It's, you got your flour, and you got your dough rises, and you have and then everything else, all the cool shit. It's just the icing and the sprinkles and the flavoring and candles and the little what's those icing flowers or whatever the hell that's. You know what I mean? Like, it's the icing on top is the cool shit, but every movie is the same cake. It's beginning, middle, end. It's fade in and structured and wide, medium, two shot, close up, cutaways. And then, but like, they might throw in like a cool music montage at some point in a movie. That's the icing on the cake. They might, some directors want to do that 15-minute long duration take. That's that icing on the cake. But really, I mean, it's all generally formulaic.
Yeah.
And
you have the I'm going to make a promo, and I'm always like, no, I just have that's known. Everything is like, now how do we make it? What's the flavor of the soup that we already know structurally exist. It's kind of freeing. That part, that's actually freeing, because you know that you have your structure. I'm just, it's like, okay, so how, what are they trying to say? Like, and how do I help them make it feel like, you know, what they want? Is it, you know, is it indie looking? Is it like super light? Are they into like doing light stuff and kind of, you know, yeah, because I'm a little older than you, 46, so we went through the era of uber light explosion stuff, you know, in the beginning when I started, and it was like, yeah, so that style still exists, but you know, it's kind of calmed down in the super, you know, crazy explosions in a world, you know, but it still exists. But yeah, it's people are more open to just kind of doing experiments.
Yeah, now it's now the big flavor is you know, an Inception, you know,
Yeah,
that horn, that boom, and it's like slow-mo shots, and then like some reveal at the very end of the trailer, some reveal of a character that's returning to the, that you
right.
thought died in the first one, and then
Yeah,
that person like walks out of the smoke and says some quippy one-liner like, you know, where you guys been, and then it's like
I've been,
part
I've
3,
been
whatever.
certain. Yeah, exactly.
Exactly, yeah, dude.
That's yeah, yeah, no. So yeah, so like it's just whatever the dressing, the clothes it's gonna wear, yeah, of this of the promo.
You know, you know, and it reminds me, I just saw a meme. It's like, stop sending me your Thanksgiving dinner picture. Stop posting your Thanksgiving meals. We're all having the same damn thing.
Right.
But, you know, some people had a great Thanksgiving, some people had a terrible one, but we're all eating the
Right.
same thing, right? So it's like, it's finding that essence on top of
Right.
everyone's got turkey dressing, you know, mashed potatoes, sweet potatoes, you know, everyone's got that same thing, but what's on top of it? What makes it special? And it's, and to me, you know, having been an AD, a director, having been an actor myself, you know, writing, I think it's, you know, a lot of times it's it's the acting, you know, if you have bad acting in a movie, it's dunzos. Swingers, and I brought up the movie Swingers on this podcast, probably every other episode, but Swingers is your basic guy dumped by girl, homies are helping him out,
Lo-fi budget, not
super low budget,
like get kind of art school where we just jump in a car. Like the film friends that I'd be trying in art school be trying to hang out because I want to do their title sequence. So you go hang out with the film department, and and you know, they jump in the car, and I'm like going to be an extra, and they'll just do whatever. But yeah, if you don't have a strong story, you just shouldn't waste the time.
right?
Well, you can waste, actually wasting time is cool,
but I mean, if you take a look at Swingers, there was like, you know, 2 or 3 movies a year in the 80s that is cookie cutter, just like Swingers. You know, guy dumped by girl, they go to a, you know, in the 80s it was they go to a ski resort, or they go to a beach, or they go to summer camp, and they meet a new girl, whatever. Swingers is that same formula. It's a little bit different. They found like, okay, you know, some underground, you know, swing music clubs, you know, some, you know, these, you know, they're struggling actors, but they're actors playing actors. But what sold Swingers was the performances of Jon Favreau and Vince Vaughn. Oh geez, Silverman, something. Ron Silverman, or Ron Silver. I was Ron Silver. Who else was in that freaking movie? But so many a number of people were in the movie. But like the way those guys just interacted, and like
it was organic. It was organic.
So organic. And that's what sold the movie, is that this extra natural, organic.
They use the medium kind of. So I didn't mean to interrupt. I just realized they again had the structure of they were going to make a film, but it was the magic within each other that they created. They were able to make that script come alive. Absolutely. I also think it probably helped. Didn't Vince Vaughn write that?
Jon Favreau. I think Jon.
Okay, right. So one of them who was in it. So that definitely helps. I'm sure. You know, like the person who's making it, they know the special sauce they want. And it's okay if a director doesn't have a special, meaning it doesn't, you don't have to have that setup of, you know, the Swingers, but it certainly seems to help, like, and make the film feel, I don't know, more than just, I don't know, something you connect with.
And it's interesting.
Special sauce.
Exactly. Doug Liman directed it, and I think Doug Liman and Jon Favreau both co-wrote the screenplay together. And look at where Doug Liman became, the mind behind the Bourne Identity movies. Jon
Right.
Favreau is like running, a third of the MCU movies, and the Star Wars series on Disney Plus. I mean, he's like doing huge productions now.
Yeah.
But it's about like starting off, but like just being, there is that formula,
Yeah.
beginning, middle, end, and then maybe some quirky scenes in the middle, and being organic, and just the interactions, the acting is what really became organic with that. But like you have your moments with like, some of these promos, and when you were talking about some of the Facebook promos, the first thing that comes to mind is these Facebook portal commercials that I've been seeing on Hulu, about Facebook portal, and it's like Facebook's version of Zoom or FaceTime or what have you. And that lady that was in the female Ghostbusters movie, she was on SNL. I can't remember her name, tall lady, and she's funny as hell. And it's just her just being goofy in these.
Yeah.
You've seen these commercials over and over again, but they stand out because that lady is hysterical,
Yeah.
and
it's her brand.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Capitalize on that.
Absolutely. We've been going on. So that's great. You've been staying busy. Has there been anything you've been binge watching, binge reading, binge watching for inspiration, for ideas, or just for escape? Or even binge studying, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, I've been printing a lot, but for show wise, there's so I probably have too much of a obsession with. There's a certain time, a timeline. It's Weimar Germany and 30. I have an obsession with, and so I probably shouldn't be watching it right now, but it feels a lot like what's going on. Like sort of like what all the social stuff is like really making me go crazy. But so I watch. I really love Babylon Berlin on Netflix.
What's it called?
Okay, it's Babylon Berlin.
Berlin.
Yeah, it's basically set in right before, was it 37, 38, when the crash, everything, and that's when everything. So you're watching it right before we always watch it growing up. We watch a lot of Hitler stuff, World War II, Hitler, and it's actually found to me the most interesting time was right before. Like I think that's my sickness is like what happened right before the darkest moment, and it was like, and how open and how creative, what a creative explosion that was happening at that time in Weimar Germany, and it was just two worlds just went boom and just collided and just exploded. But like it's just how it was just so I'm fascinated with that time. So Babylon Berlin is kind of it's not a documentary, so it's very it takes lots of liberties, but it has at least all the key timeline points, the crash of their stock market and everything. And so it's basically, so far they're only about 3 to 4 months in, which is, they have 3 or 4 seasons, but so they have they kind of like make it really short right before like Hitler coming, kind of taking the power. So it's like all this stuff, and you could just see how unhinged it, and how it happens a lot easier than we thought. Like like when everything was so weak, like structurally and socially and leadership wise, and that kind of terrifies me.
Yeah, well, I mean, you raised a good point, because a lot of people will say that some of our politicians today now. Real quick disclaimer on myself, since I am currently serving in the DC Army National Guard, so I have to be, since I'm currently serving in the military, I have to be careful about what I say and about who. But but as far as history goes, Hitler took advantage of Germany's sensibilities, the majority of Germany's sensibilities, where they were, Germany's stance in the world, having lost World War I. I think they had their own version of a depression of some kind. And so he definitely took advantage of that. He did a lot of catcalling, whistle
Yep.
Dog whistling, the cat calling, and gaslighting, without a doubt. And
Yeah.
so there's a lot of similarities to what, how do I phrase it?
But
How
there's
do I phrase it? A
history
lot of
never repeats itself, but all the elements of to make
sort of does always, you know.
sort of, yeah.
Yeah.
That's why I always am like, I don't like where everyone's like, oh, he's Hitler, he's this. I'm going, history will never be the same. Just let's structurally not try to repeat ourselves. Like where you see the weak. I don't want to go. I think I'm pretty moderate, unfortunately. I just can't get. I just see hordes of humans as more terrifying than anything. So, yeah, that's why the Walking Dead kind of is like. I'm not saying, yeah.
What's more dangerous in The Walking Dead? Is it the zombies or the humans?
The people,
the humans.
Yeah,
exactly.
Life is just the zombies. Yeah, life. They just exist, trying to get around. Like, I dodged that cancer. Oh, it does that. Yeah, they're gonna get it. But actually, the worst part. And I mean, but I love humans, so I'm not putting them down. But I think they need to. We sometimes can get too into the passion part. Maybe they need. And it's funny because I'm pure passion, but I put it in art, so I don't know. Like I don't like that's where I find the stuff. So I think people who don't have, and just need to make more, destroy less. Well, or sorry, make more than you destroy. So
exactly, and that's my biggest thing is that I for what I'll do is I'll take a look at somebody somebody that jumps on this soapbox. And what are you doing? Are you creating something or are you destroying something? Are you building something up or are you trying to tear something or somebody down?
With nothing to replace it, no idea to replace it, no anything. It's just like they just want to destroy something down. Going, I'm cool with destroying something, but if you don't have some proposal or something to replace it, I think we're going to leave it as it is until we have something to implement. Okay. Yeah.
Sure. Yeah. And there's a phrase, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. So if it's not working well, what are we going to replace it with? Or we've got nothing at all.
Right.
But if it ain't broke, I mean, oh man, this is such old technology. Hey, listen, it works.
Yep.
It works. And okay, the emissions aren't so good. The impact on the environment isn't so good. Okay, let's figure it out. Well, let's work on that. And there's nothing wrong. And there's a lot of people that I know that tear down people like Bernie Sanders, that tear down people like Greta Thunberg, and it's like, but they have a platform. No, they don't have all the knowledge, but they know for a fact that there's something wrong, and what we're doing is not working.
Right.
What we're doing is not working well. They want to try to fix that. And the first thing is like, okay, if you don't have all the answers right now, then shut up. And it's like, that's not how it works. No, I see there's something wrong. I don't know how to fix it. So, okay, if I get in my car and I'm driving my car and this thing is like rumbling, okay, I'm not an expert, so I guess do nothing about it. No, take it to a mechanic. I'm not a mechanic,
right?
So I can't make that judgment to take it to a mechanic. So there's nothing wrong with the car, even though it's like,
oh right, yeah, totally.
But I'm not a mechanic, so how can I make a decision to take it to mechanic?
Because something's wrong.
That's the stupidest mentality. Yes, there's something wrong. Okay, for cars we have a mechanic, but for the environment or for the economic system of this country or that country, we have experts that are working on different things. How do we fix it? How do we fix it? Well, let's look into it. Okay, then there's no point in talking about it. Yes, there is a point in talking about it.
Yeah.
I don't see that there anything wrong with us, talking about it and trying to, by us talking about it, we're going to come up with answers. But to shoot someone down just for standing up and say, hey, we need to address this problem, and you're just going to shoot them down immediately because they don't have all the answers. That's
right. Yeah.
That's the vicious cycle that we're just going to remain in for the rest of our lives with whatever, whatever the issue, racial injustice, social injustice, the economic problems, the healthcare problems, the environment, whatever.
Well, it's like, I guess to bring it kind of to where you're asking how during the lockdown, it's like that this is kind of linked to how you're talking about social issues and the rest and things like this, where like I've been lucky enough to work from home, but I've noted, I've seen, and a lot of people I know don't even haven't had work at all, and and then you like think about it, you're like $1,200. That was like what 6 months ago. It's, and they're probably able to use all their savings. And at what point, I might be working, but I'm more. I want to be like, how do we get more people working? Because me just working is like, well, that's great until not, because
Right.
we're all interconnected in a society that's not at peace, or that they're going to be an unrest. And so no matter if I'm working right now, it just could turn to, I want everyone to kind of, to work, because like it's all linked. Economy, all that stuff is all linked to a point. I went to art school, so I'm in dangerous waters here.
Yeah.
So like I said, but I mean, you do see it's all connected. Like people who, if they're like the, like seeing people lining up for food, kind of freaks me out. Like it's like, oh, because I kind of live in my own, I have a little small existence. It's a 1,000 square foot studio. It's really small. It's above a hair salon. It's not super, crazy, and I stuff like that. But so
is that why the hair looks so great? It's right downstairs.
Exactly.
But you were saying right above small little studio space. Yeah.
Yep.
I mean,
no, it's cool. My existence is kind of it's introverted. But whenever you see, so you imagine everyone's kind of at least where I'm at, like, or sort of, they're able to just go to Trader Joe's across the street and do this thing, and they don't have kids, right? Thing like that. So I'm kind of very, very monastic kind of existence of it. I think, what? And then you see people lining up in food banks, and you're like, oh shit, this isn't good. Like, okay, we have to do something. Like, you have to, because next thing you know, I mean, I would, if I would be trying to fight, if I would be lining up for food, I know what would be next. Like, I don't see food, the theft of food as theft. It's kind of, I'm also not, not a communist also. Well, so it's like I don't, but it comes, the dire need to exist will always overtake. And so whenever I see people laying up for food, I'm like, okay, we need more jobs, or there's a lot of my friends who are like telling people to wear a mask, to not go outside, or not to go outside and everything. I'm like, and I agree, absolutely. But then we're also designers who stay indoors. So I wonder, like, what about the person who has to go out to make their money and their ends meet? I don't know how to work with that. So I see both sides, and I go, like, I mean, yeah, just seeing people line up for food banks is it makes me worried. So yeah, Babylon Berlin. We were going through the whole, it's like I do watch a lot of stuff. It's like, yeah, Raised by Wolves. That's another one.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, I need to check that out.
It's everything. It's I have one episode left. I'm kind of cherishing it, so I haven't been but they're all kind of, that's dystopian, kind of, yeah, and
Absolutely. Technology, man. Technology will be the bane of our existence, I guess. That's why we have to have that wabi-sabi, that organic art, man.
The wire.
But we were saying Raised by Wolves.
Oh, Raised by Wolves.
Yeah, man.
This a dystopian thing is like always a yeah.
I've been watching Mandalorian, and so it's one episode every Friday. You gotta wait, and it drives me nuts. But yeah,
I gotta catch up on that.
Yeah, me and the wife got the HBO package, and so we're watching Curb Your Enthusiasm for the 20th time, and
nice.
But yeah, I think it's season 3 of Westworld, and Raised by Wolves is up next.
That would be an interesting That would be an interesting dual partner relationship. Watching those in unison, we're gonna be like.
They probably take place in the same universe, I think, don't they?
No, because isn't Race by, well, Race by was kind of more sci-fi, so we don't know where it exists.
I know
like,
it's
meaning
way in the
way
future. It's on another planet, but
yeah.
I don't know. My theory is that it's the same androids, you know, that were used. That's my theory. It's my little.
For any other like aliens? Because oh, sorry, what's his name? Who directed Aliens? I always forget.
Oh, James Cameron.
No. Alien. Sorry. Alien. The first one.
Oh, the first one, Ridley Scott.
Ridley. That I don't know why I forget his name.
But
So
Ridley Scott.
Executive producer.
Yeah, so it probably falls into the. Yeah, you're right. It's probably falling into the Alien Predator.
Well, he had the two androids are called Mother and Father. So the other day I was like, he just likes the name. So we're gonna go with Mother on everything.
Yeah. Who was Mother in the Alien?
Wasn't that the talking?
Oh, that was the AI of the ship, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Sigourney Weaver was talking to Mother.
Mother, yeah, Mother.
That's right. That's right. Yeah. So it's probably the same software or something.
Yeah.
Okay.
I like his stuff. So
yeah.
And
I've been watching like some bad '80s movies. I just finished Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2 with Dennis Hopper. It's just so out, just off the rails, especially because Canon. You remember the Golden Globus group? You remember the Canon films? You know, like Bloodsport, all those Chuck Norris.
Yeah, totally.
Oh my, all the Van Damme movies. You know, so Canon took Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2, and it was just off the freaking rails. And Canon also, you know, not a lot of people know this. Canon took Superman 4, The Quest for Hope. No, The Quest for Peace. It was like the worst one in the series, you know, with the nuclear man and all that. But somehow Canon got a hold of the Superman franchise, the fourth Christopher Reeve one, and it was just disastrous. It was ridiculous.
I mean, sometimes they're so bad. I'm like, they're wonderful.
But they are wonderful. I mean, especially for me, because I grew up with them as a kid. So they're almost, you know, I think at some point somebody thinks that they're supposed to be taken seriously, but me as a kid, I never did. I just loved them so much because they were a little bit off the rails. They were always.
Isn't it funny? You think about like I don't mean to go off on a trip, like because we're really close to the same age, so we kind of were baptized in the same sort of like, you know, those kind of movies. And it's funny how back then it was really difficult to make a movie, or harder, you know, lots of film processing, you know, like you know, and then all these kids were influenced by these things, and now we have cameras in our pockets, and we're too afraid. But I feel like we're too afraid to make things as with as many flaws. Like when you look at, you know, like Texas Chainsaw Massacre, or I'm more of a what's his name, Raimi stuff.
Evil Dead's.
Yeah. Like you watch them, like no way. Like like today, like I mean, I don't know what the equivalent of like it. It was unapologetically bad. Like it was like, but it's also, it felt very, you could do it. Like, you know, it was like punk. Like, you know, you can make an album too. And now we have phones in our pockets and we won't make them. Why?
Right.
You know, because we're like, well, we don't have the effects, or like this, or like
but we do.
We do. We still
There's
have
an app
jelly.
for that. Exactly. But no, you raise a brilliant point. I mean, there's an app for all these
single often uses, single effect uses, and I'm like, yeah, it's like well, you're saying you're from DC, Maryland. I'm like a huge Guar fan, like growing up on Guar, you know, like and Trauma and that stuff. Like, I mean, they actually had to spend thousands to make those. Like we could make them in a day, and but we won't. So it's weird. We don't. Meaning, all of a sudden we become obsessed with making it perfect, where it's like, I just go. And I understand, because I get kind of locked as well. I kind of get, my mind gets kind of like, well, it won't be, what will people think? I want to get back to where whatever they were thinking whenever they thought they could release those things that are full of flaws, but brilliant, but wonderful and brilliant. Like, it's a level of comfort that they had a level of I don't know, a lot more forgiveness in their films, like,
of course,
how they made them. And yeah, like the Van Damme stuff, but all those ones were just so bad. And you're like, but when I say bad, I don't mean bad. You know what I mean? I'm not like, I mean, we like some of those. I completely miss prosthetic prosthetics, like Clive Barker,
Mm-hmm.
like that. I'm like, it's, it's like, what is it? We were watching The Thing the other night, and it was like, it's just too. I really like it. The latest one. I think it's The Thing. Yeah, and it was like a couple of years ago, 9 and it was good, but they showed too much of The Thing. Like it's like like, and it's all super CG stuff. Like I kind of miss jelly and stuff as blood,
Mm-hmm.
and I know that's saying something completely else, but it's kind of, I don't know, like horror movies genuinely actually scare me today. Meaning scare me because they're too real. Like there's a
Yeah.
sense of like, which is good, but like I kind of like the the Clive Barker Hellraiser prosthetic pins, things that it's like you could have, today they would CG it in, which is cool. But
Yeah, I mean, talking about The Thing, you raised a good point with John Carpenter's original Thing, 1983, I think, with Kurt Russell. They showed the creature right out the gate, and then it
yeah,
disappears. Now, but you were referring to that sort of remake prequel where it was a CGI thing with
yeah,
with the female,
yes,
and but the beauty of Kurt Russell's one is that it was all males. He really wanted to break out of all the molds. There was going to be no scream queens in The Thing, the 1983
right,
version. No scream queens. It was all males,
right,
all trapped, isolated in this area. The first thing you see, probably in the first 15 minutes, is The Thing take out somebody. And now for the whole rest of the movie, it's about paranoia.
yeah, Paranoia is great.
That was the biggest thing. Who's the Thing now? We saw it. We know what the Thing can be, but we don't know who the Thing is right now. That's
Yep.
what's driving everybody nuts. All right, we're gonna try this little test. We're gonna try that little test. Well,
Which made it more which made it more relatable as a human, because the Thing is anything in your life. It could be something, it could be government, it could be cancer, it could be this, it could be, so, but whenever it's the super clear high res CG thing, no, it's that monster. Like you see, it's like it's that whereas it's not, where the earlier stuff, the Carpenter's was more metaphorical. You could,
yeah, it was.
that thing you're afraid of. And what is that?
Yeah, and this guy's obsessed with dogs. That guy was really in love with all his dogs, so the Thing kind of destroyed all his dogs.
Yeah.
And then spoiler alert for anybody that's watching, but it destroyed all of his dogs. It really took a blow at that guy's core existence there on that camp, was to have these dogs, train these dogs. And he might have had some other side jobs there in that camp, but his main thing was like the care of the dogs, because the dogs, I guess, I don't know, sled dogs or something. I don't remember. But and then the guy was trying to use the defibrillator or whatever on the and then
the dog it comes out.
Yeah. And it's just like all these moments where you think nothing's going to hit you, then something hits you. You see this creature and the art of creating this practical thing in its many different stages. There was art, there was a whole process to that. And so Carpenter had fun with that, because we have these practical effects, we have this kind of technology we can experiment with and use. Because I know my main focus is the paranoia all the way up until that last shot. And then you have the music. And another beauty about the 80s movies, that have all these flaws to it, and all these, they were trying to experiment. They were trying to take advantage of the hot new thing and then really kind of exploit it. And, martial arts movies, or, those ridiculous Chuck Norris movies, and the Red Scare of the 80s and the martial arts hype of the 80s. But there was a lot of cheesiness to it, but also it was like the music would make these movies more powerful for us. Or there was some sort of gimmick. There was some sort of inspirational thing, like with the Karate Kid. It was like this small little bullied kid, what else stood out? But, you make a good point with, pulling off shooting a movie on 35 millimeter, not on a disc.
Yep.
It was a big fat 35 millimeter
canister. Yep.
That I think they were 12-minute canisters, 12 minutes of footage. And Predator, you got a bunch of guys out in the jungle, sweaty, harsh conditions, probably just on set, the harsh conditions out there. Van Damme was originally the Predator in a totally different suit. and he suffered he suffered from heat stroke, and he had to quit the show. That's how rough that shoot is, and they're still shooting it on film, probably with audio tape, you know, like
Yep.
audio strips of tape.
Yep.
And, you know, straight up boom, nothing's plugged in, nothing's hybrid.
Quite an eccentric, elaborate setup.
Plus,
as small as it is today, you know.
Plus, out there in that jungle, I forget what country they were shooting in. I think they were in the Philippines, maybe shooting or something like that. That's where all the other Rambo movies were shot, was in the Philippines. But, and still, there's scenes where that acting is on point. You know, like Carl Weathers acting, Schwarzenegger's acting. Everybody was on point. It was rehearsed. It was, you know, directed to a T. I mean, these guys hit all their marks, all the emotional cues, you know, everything. And they all bonded, and it all came together. And still, with the challenges of shooting pre-digital age.
Right.
Yeah.
They put tons out.
Yeah.
That's why it's what's funny is like I fall victim to being afraid too. So when I'm like, why aren't these people like, I'm going, I have it in my pocket my camera. I'm like, why aren't you making things? I'm like, oh yeah, I should be making things.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, especially, well, and now, especially now, I took a major advantage of this starting this podcast, because I had, you know, simple gear and, you know, a little bit of expertise in the live streaming, and I had a number of passion projects in the can, edited it all out, and then started just writing and experimenting and like you were saying, you know, before the quarantine, I had a number of scripts written, and I was so stubborn. No, I need about 50,000 for this 25-page script. I need about 50,000. I can't make it for any less. Blah, 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 blah. And now with this quarantine, I'm thinking like, okay, I should have done this years ago, but make a motion comic as opposed to a live action film. Make a, you know, maybe dabble with Unreal and make some sort of CGI hybrid motion comic, hybrid animation, something, you know?
Yeah.
So I'm dabbling a little bit with Unreal and seeing what I can get away with that. Looking and dabbling with motion, After Effects, and I'm pretty well versed with Photoshop, but trying to like get more versed with After Effects to look at what are the possibilities of doing a motion comic and doing this and doing that, and, you know, playing around with different mediums. Yeah. Absolutely. I mean, it's just like about not being afraid but stepping outside the comfort zone and seeing like, what's another way of producing a script? If it's not with a film camera and an audio crew and a film crew and actors, what's another way to pull off the script in the same manner but with a different, still tell the same exact story. My story is coming across the same exact way.
Yeah. And and all of a sudden it's like, freeze, like freeze up. It's like, wait. That is why sometimes the idea of like, oh, I just want freedom of creativity, and I'm like, you know, you don't. Like, there's like we do, but like there's be careful what you ask for. I get rolling back to the beginning part, like the structure of 30 seconds and 20 are actually quite liberating. Like so whenever it's like, okay, you're on, you can make anything. You're like, anything? Like, and it's like, oh, I don't. Oh, everyone's watching now. Oh, I'm afraid. And the fear sets in, and you have to like somehow figure out how to tell it to go away.
Someone, you know, so-and-so has been talking to me about a book they're going to write for 10 years. You've been retired for 8. How much have you written?
More time.
Like you've been retired now. Let's work on that book. Oh, but you know, but this, and what are you doing? I'm like, I'm doing quite a lot. I'm not retired. I'm doing it for a living, but you've been talking about this book. Let's write this book. It's been, you know, you've been retired for 8 years, and I know exactly what you're doing. You know, you're watching TV, you're going out, you're doing this,
panicking, freezing, like, oh, I can't think about it. But what if I just, oh God, and then you just go in the front room, like, and it's like this,
absolutely.
I keep trying to make friends with that, like, and try to like saying like, oh no, let's just keep pushing through. So
Yeah, like just start
yeah.
typing. Just start typing.
Yeah, and just like I said, like with just put something together in After Effects, like, and if like it doesn't have to be the thing, it could be actually the the thing that gets you noticed that gets made in something larger. It could meaning if you just put comic thing together in After Effects and it's like it looks cool but not perfect, and someone sees it somewhere and they give you there's something about you showing that you put enough work into it that was a significant, rather than just say a script. If you're like, oh, here, let me put a little animatic together, it's like, and it's a it goes, oh well, you kind of invested in this. If you were like to go out and do put an actual sequence together of animation that isn't perfect and maybe not your strengths, but it's the strength is like someone goes, man, they're into that, okay, let's fund that. Especially now, it seems like a lot of studios seem to be because the production stuff is it's pretty expensive to do because all of the quarantine stuff, and I don't even know if they're shooting. I think they are, but it's like super tons of sanitizer, masks, everything. So all of the amount itself just now added an expense to it. So if you're like, hey, I have this thing and doing After Effects that doesn't involve any people, they're gonna probably greenlight it. Some at some level, they seem to be really thirsty for stuff.
Yeah, listen, TikTok and YouTube and Facebook, I mean, that's all the test audience right there. And if you're getting some hits, you're getting some views, I mean, people are complimenting and commenting and liking, there you are, there's your test audience right there. Let's greenlight the shit out of this and kick it off. I mean, content's king. That's what they say anyway, until it's like, hey, listen, here's something people like. It falls under your realm of the universe of your realm.
Yes.
And people are digging it. Pick it up. Let's put it on your network and greenlight it for like 3 times as much content, episodes, whatever it's, however you look at it, and just run with it. Well, and I'm like, hey, listen, man, there's no wells. I mean, there's people out there liking it on another medium. Let's put it on a major platform. People will like it.
Oh yeah, no, that whole I see TikTok. I'm like, I was like looking at it, I go, I don't understand it, but what I do understand is, oh my god, this is actually creating the next generation of editors.
Mm-hmm.
Like I was like, because I don't, it's like I like how super ADD, like, except for it's like, how do you say something in 20 seconds? Like, even though they're using a lot of the same disappearing effects, stuff like that, they're still learning. It's like a sort of like a mass experiment on how to baptize a youth into unknowingly become editors.
Mm-hmm.
Like, so I was like, this is kind of cool. Like, so I find that format interesting. Yeah,
definitely. Well, speaking of which, what's next on the agenda? What's the next set of goals for Chad Danieley?
Let me see. Something big.
Next, like a set of plans. What's next on the agenda? Say 6 months to a year from now.
Well, printing still. I just work wise or personal wise, like
either
personal
one.
Work.
Either one.
I mean, I just keep going. Like, just more. Hopefully, get more. Since I love logo stuff, do more logo stuff. I don't have anything like super, like in that like 6 months to a year. I'm not sure, actually.
Yeah, well, I mean, the beauty of it is you work remotely, so you have like we discussed before, you haven't totally been negatively affected professionally, I guess.
Okay, got it. Yes. So like, one thing I've oddly not done, because I've always been booked to work, is to actually make monetize a version. When I say monetize, just actually start, even if it's Etsy or whatever, I don't know, like selling my artwork, like, because my prints from letterpress and stuff like that that everyone likes, but I seem to just I keep it to myself, and then I incorporate it into a lot of the promo stuff I do, which is kind of actually really weird when I think about it. but then people ask if I sell it, and I haven't. So I realized that's probably where that would actually help me to my next step of just kind of, you know, I don't know, being more designer artist. So like actually selling prints, artwork, stuff like that I make. That's kind of linked, but a little more fine art, but commercial fine art. So you know, not hyper super like, I'm not a postmodernist. I'm definitely a modernist. So like I like things I like that are paintings or things. So but yeah, so probably that I need to buckle down and actually start selling prints and stuff like that. People have asked forever, and I'm like, so yeah, you did point out I have extra time, and I probably should do that.
Yeah. Yeah, like I've spent a lot of my extra time just trying to like write and you know, just jot down ideas and refine ideas, because at some point, I mean, and like you, I've been blessed to where I've stayed relatively busy and relatively employed during the quarantine. A lot of remote work, a lot of live streaming work, and you know, maybe some cloud based editing, you know, pulling stuff off the cloud and putting stuff back on or whatever. But yeah, I mean, you know, there is still a lot of free time. Well, plus me and the wife have a baby boy, so that takes up a lot of time too. But then within what time left is there, I want to take advantage of that and make sure that that's being used creatively and productively, and not just there are you know, there are shows that I have to watch, you know, and because you know, I have to stay relatively entertained and inspired and see some, because really I think from our standpoint, everything I watch, I'm studying or restudying or taking ideas from, and I'm like, oh man, I loved, you know, a lot of my ideas stem from the 80s movies. Let me go back and watch these 80s movies and see some cool ideas. Now, okay, so now I have something that would take place modern day, but how can I implement some sort of retro, quirky type of thing that I love from the stuff that I watched growing up, you know, whatever the case may be. But
the beauty of of burned in type into film for me, that wabi sabi, the edges of those 80s films, like, you know, look at it, it's just like I could work for hours to make it look like that when it just happened. Like, you know, like, I think the beauty of like, you see those, you know, the 80s films, and it wasn't super, I mean, yeah, it wasn't a totally different era, but I mean, it was still digitally printed out, but it was still how to burn in and things like that are just
to make the final 35 millimeter master vaulted print, those burned in titles. Just beautiful. And so it's like, oh man, we need to make another copy. Okay, everybody, we need a crew of like 40 people come in. We're taking the master protection copy of Bloodsport, and we're going to make another print of it. And then from that print is what all the DVDs are going to be made of, or
the type slowly degrades.
They had to start an entire organization to protect these prints. What was that? I think Spielberg, Coppola started that to protect film restoration, something.
And then I think 10 years ago, I was like, I lived in Studio City and I saw a black cloud, and I think one of the studios, actually one of the vaults at Universal Studios, that burned up. So so I guess a lot of very ancient stuff like that they were trying to, that one of those vaults like at Universal Studios like burned up, but they were trying to digitize. At the same time, it is liberating to lose some things because you can move forward. But it's as long as you have some of it, it's. I don't want to obsess over what I've made too. That's like, but there's someone who does. That's cool. But yeah, all that old footage and stuff, like especially like I love German expressionist films from the 30s, just the angles, like you actually made the set do that, like you built it, and you're like, what? That seems like I can get a carpenter, we can build something, like just put some black under their eyes, and let's we need a bunch of smokers, come on you know, like, we need the beautiful blue. Back
when you could smoke on set, and they were like, okay, everybody light up and smoke a couple. All right, we got our haze. Action.
Action.
And you know, like it's Tarantino is not only like a brilliant filmmaker, but he's like an ultra, you know, film buff, almost a film historian.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
the whole idea that they set fire to that theater using that film, that because that certain film that they used back
The
in the
celluloid.
30s, the celluloid was so flammable. And
Like
when
insane.
you know, and when the movie paused and Sam Jackson is like, oh, by the way, no, he's narrating. Note, by the way, the film used was celluloid and it's highly flammable. And I'm like, holy shit, it was. And then you see like that French spy / movie projection, his whole plot come together. And I'm like, dude, like this is you know, like these little ideas.
Yeah.
I mean, it goes without saying how, you know, how in tune he is with the whole history and the whole evolution of filmmaking. I wish I could find.
Inglourious. Are you talking about the
Film Foundation? I think it was called. Yeah, the Film Foundation.
Yeah.
The Film Foundation saved nearly 600 films, often restoring them to pristine condition and so on and so forth. Yeah. I think that was it. The Film Foundation.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, that must have been it. It was. It looks like it was founded in 1990 with Woody Allen, Robert Altman, Francis Ford Coppola, Clint Eastwood, Stanley Kubrick, George Lucas, Sidney Pollack, Robert Redford, and Steven Spielberg. Yeah. In 2006, Paul Thomas Anderson, Wes Anderson, Curtis Hanson, Peter Jackson, Ang Lee, Alexander Payne were added to the board of directors. Yeah, that was it. So the Film Foundation. So yeah, they went through and they were trying to restore. And I think there was an accident at one of the vaults with the Film Foundation, but yeah,
that was. I used to live like a couple blocks from Universal Studios, and I remember like, seeing just this huge black. It was ugly black. It was like this really. I was like, that doesn't look healthy, like, you know, from the thing. But because all those celluloids are like, they're explosive.
Yeah, and so if the Film Foundation started in 1990, no computers. Do they have an original cut of the original Star Wars trilogy without all the new bullshit added to it? Because is there a way
of our childhood? You mean they robbed us of our childhood?
Well, listen, I mean, I'm not completely robbed. It's just I see some of these scenes in A New Hope and Empire. Maybe not Empire, but I see some of the. I just watched A New Hope and like the opening when they were in that shanty town, and it's just like, it just looks. It looks well. It's not even well done either.
Yeah,
but
I'm not a fan of.
Is there a cut? Is there?
Here's the thing. Like my biggest problem with what he did is not that it's like you said, you can't find the original cut. The main thing is like when I make something, I just kind of put it away, I lob it off. If someone likes it, it's going to stay. I don't, and I know I shouldn't ever really revisit it. Like you can take it's like, why didn't you just leave it and then like make a version if you wanted to on your own?
Yeah.
But again, he's got billions, I don't. So
here's the thing, and I think it was it probably was like to build the Star Wars franchise more and more, and like have this re-release with his original vision kind of tacked on. Like he wanted something bigger than he was able to pull off, so now he wanted to do that. But
that's fine. Good.
But
where's my original?
But where's that original, which everybody loved because it is that wabi sabi that still people loved. It was like this ultra low budget sci-fi movie that more than half the movie took place on a desert planet, so they pulled it off like a spaghetti western.
Yep.
You know, but at the same time, another argument is, okay, Kanye West, what was Jay-Z and Kanye West started that Tidal music? You know, supposed to be like Spotify Tidal. And so Kanye's album was on that, but it was always changing. He kept updating the songs. So he released an album, but if you bought it 6 months later, the track 6, call it, you know, let's say that the name of the track was My Lady, was track 6.
Yeah.
It's different than track 6, My Lady, was 6 months ago. And that's kind of cool. As an artist, you can do that.
As a conceptual piece, it's cool. Like as a conceptual art piece, like.
But listen, as an artist, I mean, there's 10 different versions of AC/DC's You Shook Me Up All Night Long. There's a restored version. They kind of redid it. They got a better sound studio. I think the version that I have on it sounds like the version I always But then I heard some older versions I just watched Maximum Overdrive with Emilio Estevez.
Oh, yeah.
And AC/DC did the whole soundtrack, and I heard a version of
Who
Made Who, and I heard a version of You Shook Me All Night Long. That sounds totally different than what I have on my
It's
music.
a lot more raw. It's a lot more raw, huh?
It's a little bit more raw.
I like it.
But I prefer my versions.
Yeah.
Right? It's a little bit more cleaner, but I have no idea. I must have gotten it from the Back in Black restored or remastered. That's what it was like. You know, they always come out with like a remastered version of their album.
Yeah.
But as artists, that's okay. But I can still find, you know, the original Back in Black CD. That's not the remastered version, right? But where's the original unremastered Star Wars Episode 4: New Hope, if you have to call it that?
Yeah.
to me, it's just called, the movie's just called Star Wars.
Star Wars,
you know?
Yeah.
So Star Wars, Empire Strikes Back. Yeah.
Yep. And yes, my brother actually has a action figure. It was called of Luke. It's with it says Revenge of the Jedi. Because he got some promo stuff that's before until they realized until they're like, oh, ooh, Jedis don't seek revenge. So
they don't. They just return.
That's of course that's inside the attic of like pieces that got loose. You know, it's like Revenge of the Jedi. But they're magical. I think 1, 2, and 3 and whatever. Like I don't pay it. I mean, I've watched them, but I that's all I can say. I got my 3, so I'm good.
Yeah.
Like I hope that the new ones inspired the kids at my age that they got.
Yeah.
Like it's a different time. So it's like there's a lot of money. When a lot of money is involved, there needs to be a lot of returns. So you know you don't get to make those cuts that you get cheap cuts that that makes it the magic of Star Wars.
Somewhat, you have to make some sort of artistic sacrifice to, I guess, for a marketing ploy or to appeal to this generation versus our generation.
Yeah.
But I mean, now looking back, I'm watching New Hope, and it's like 35 minutes of these 2 droids walking through the desert. And I said, was people not bored with that? I just realized that this is, like, my wife was like, what is this movie about? Where's Princess Leia? And I'm like, it's coming, but it just dawned on me, like, A New Hope was like 2 hours and 15, I think. And it's like the first 30 minutes is just these 2 droids lost in the desert. And they finally, half an hour into it, we meet Luke. 45 minutes into it, we meet Luke. Like, what?
Yeah.
I forgot that, because as a kid, you're just engulfed and it's just
magic.
Right. It like those 2 hours fly by. And as an adult, things are a little different. And I probably wouldn't have made it. Me as a filmmaker, I probably wouldn't have made it 35 minutes of these droids bickering and bantering and whatever, but I don't know.
Oh yeah. No, it's interesting how it works.
I didn't time it. Maybe I should. I do like a special podcast episode, just real harsh introspective into the Star Wars movies.
Yeah.
Well, when you hear we kind of touched upon this, but when you hear the phrase "new normal," what do you think of?
New normal. Okay. I don't know. People, I'm thinking that's just life. Like, it's just being like when you were talking about, like new normal stuff. It's like, well, this is I guess what we have to do. I don't know what's normal about it, but it's new. We're just rolling with it, like sure. in a way. It's like we don't have a choice. So let's try to make let's at least make this as best we can. Yeah. Like the flaws and all.
Yeah, I've had some previous guests, shine some light on some things. I mean, like post 9/11, we had a new normal.
Yeah.
Like September 12th, on September 12th or 13th of 2001, we had a new normal, and it was, like we're not as safe, and now here we are, and then, you know, we've had a different president. We got Barack Obama, who was a black president, and
Yep.
there's a lot of people like, oh, the new normal, and it's like, but is there a new normal? It's just
Right.
finally we've had a black president, so what's so new or different or extraordinary about that? It's just finally walls are being broken down, and a lot of people's comfort levels are being shattered.
Yeah,
you know,
that's good.
But and that's great, and that should happen. And so the new normal. So now there's, you know, this post quarantine, post COVID. I mean, what's the new normal now that we have to wear? Once we get the vaccine, are we still going to wear masks? I mean, I probably will.
I'm paranoid, so of course I will. Like,
Right.
I'm like, for a while, and then realize, yo, like I said, you go first.
Well, you know, look, you know, years before even this quarantine, you know, we've seen videos of Chinese and Japanese wearing masks, just
Yes,
normal day to day, and
it's culturally very different here.
Yeah, because there it's like, okay, I'm feeling under the weather, I'm going to wear a mask,
right?
Because I don't want to spread it. Whereas we are feeling under the weather, we might not go to work, or might be out of sick leave, so we have to go to work. But are we going to wear a mask to work? And a lot of, I don't remember anybody wearing. Oh, I got a cold. Stay back. I got a cold.
Right.
Oh,
the guy sitting next to me, like,
but no mask.
The girl,
but no mask. But just step a few back. I mean, this shit's airborne, so
yeah,
it's in the air now. You got me sick.
Yeah.
So
I do worry about us. I do worry about us getting too paranoid, because I know the rabbit holes I can go down. So I was like, like of germ phobia. I'm like, I think it's like what made me kind of giggle is like it's as if an entire society realized, oh my God, we're gross. Like I'm like, yeah, we've always been gross. Like when you like, but like, you know, like. So, but yeah, we have to wear masks, you know, and do this stuff. And yeah, when it comes to like the new normal of 9/11, that's all. Like I know you know as well as I do. Like there's just such a different culture between then, but right before 9/11 to now. I mean, there's two societies. This one, the one before was, I don't know if it's like we were so worried about things that weren't that worried about, like weren't really that scary. And now, yeah, it's like, it just seems to be, I hope it just doesn't continually amp up of paranoia. But beforehand, you know, before 9/11, it was, you know, we had differences, but it wasn't. And then all of a sudden it starts turning into we started, you know, this, like you said, less innocence, things like that. I don't know.
Yeah.
It just feels very different. And like another element is I do isolate myself a lot. So not hermetist, but so I don't interact with tons of people. So I'm also very closed off, but not on purpose, just because I'm always busy. But the new normal does. I don't know. We're people though. I get off on being with people, you know, like interacting creatively. So we have to figure out how to keep that going. Because Zoom's okay. It's been an okay fix for right now.
Yeah.
Or like a new normal. I hope not. Like, I mean, hopefully just learn from everything.
I think it's just a simple progression. I mean, I think we're just like with 9/11 and just like a number of issues after that, just heightened awareness, not so much complacency. I mean, we're going to look out. I would hope that we're going to be more sensitive to other people's sensibilities.
Yeah.
You know, and more courteous, wear masks, and not be like all touchy feely if you're feeling under the weather, and look into more like healthier substitutes, more, you know, what is it? Immune system, immunity boosting supplements and better diets and all that shit. Yeah, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, but new normal is yeah. I think I've just kind of gone dormant for a year because I want to just move on. Like let's just, whatever's next, let's just go inside and make stuff and then come out a year later, like, with tablets. Look at what I made.
Yep.
Like, I isolated myself, so, you know, to make something, to make stuff and bring it to it, and hopefully like, but yeah, it is going to be, it is interesting to the mass thing into society, which hasn't before actually quite, not anti, but it was seen as, you know, something that we just didn't do, which now we will do. So
Yeah.
it's just going to be, see, you know, and I hope it just doesn't divide us more, but it seems to, like, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, now's the time, and it sounds awful, but I've said this a bunch of times. Like I've really taken advantage of this as an opportunity. This whole quarantine, this whole remote work, this whole shelter in place. I really took advantage of it as far as, you know, creatively, you know, as a father, as a creative, as an artist, expanding, taking it. Well, I definitely already had kind of a foot into the whole live streaming and remote kind of work.
Yeah.
So I was, so that was my saving grace. And I was able to like just jump, you know, headfirst into that whole arena because there was nothing else for quite some time. And now people are jumping, you know, now some doors. And, you know, some folks I would ask, have you been back on set? I mean, you usually work from the office, so you're still working, but you know, like a lot of my recent guests, they've been back on set and they're back acting, they're back, you know, shooting this or acting in that. And it's awesome. I mean, it's skeleton crews, and we'll see how that, you know, pans out for me in the next 6 months to a year. But
yeah, I'm
still playing it pretty cautious until there's like a guaranteed bona fide vaccine, 99% effective. I mean, what's beautiful is that the vaccine they're saying right now is like 90% effective.
Yeah.
And I think the influenza vaccine is only 66% effective. So I think we're good even right now. So yeah, we'll see how it is.
That'll be nice when that happens. I mean, I always take the flu shot, so I guess I'll take that. Like,
yep.
We're just yeah.
Well, what's if there's one last bit of advice you want to put out there, what would that be?
Just make stuff. It's like literally just like and using this time, artists, designers, whatever we are. Like I don't know. It's been a thriving time for us. Like I get creatively. In our own personal projects, do more personal projects. Like that's I find that's the one thing that separates me from a lot of other designers. Is the personal projects that I bring to your work. So like you know any filmmaker or anything like that. Just you don't need you don't need the huge crew. You don't need the whole thing. Just put something together and see what happens.
Yeah, you don't need a huge crew. And you raise a great point, man. I have 2 web series, which was made with 3 actors, and I'm not counting myself. So 3 actors, maybe an extra cameraman or 2. I was a cameraman, actor, director. So I kind of wore a number of hats, and it was ultra low budget. And so we're still pulling it off now because it's beyond skeleton crew. It's like bacterial crew, really. It's like 1 or 2 people. It's not.
Have you seen what bacteria does to something? It can take it all down.
Yeah, man. or it can build it up. You know, everything's made of bacteria, I think, isn't it?
Yeah. Oh no, when I said bring it down, meaning it can make something beautiful.
Yeah, but okay, maybe not bacteria crew, less than a skeleton crew. It's all like marrow. It's a marrow crew. Marrow. Blood marrow, bone marrow crew. But yeah, I mean, it's like, you know, 2-3 actors, you know, a lot of stock footage. You know, we went to some Comic-Cons and filmed a bunch of random stuff, and we were able to piece that into it. And basically the idea was, if you're familiar with those crime shows on ID, you know, Who Killed Jane Doe or Evil Twins or whatever.
My grandma watches all of them. She loves them.
So me and a number of my buddies in this area, they shoot almost all those shows in the DMV area, the DC, Maryland, Virginia area, actually, because Silver Spring was based at Discovery Channel was based in Silver Spring, Maryland, until maybe a couple years ago. But anyway, I've played a detective in 80 different episodes of a bunch of those shows, and it just dawned on me what what would a show like that be like in the DC universe or in the Marvel universe? If, you know, if Tony Stark went home, took off the Iron Man suit, poured himself a cocktail and watched ID, what would he see on the ID channel? Or, you know, or in the DC universe, Bruce Wayne went home, you know, hung up the cape, poured himself, you know, a glass of wine. Him and Alfred sat down, watched ID. What would be on the ID channel? And so that's what we made. Basically a crime show set in the shot just like that, produced just like that. And I've seen how, I don't want to say cheap or low budget, but how uniquely those shows are produced. I said,
oh yeah,
yeah,
exactly.
And so
it's very, very limited how like it's like the same set for like 10 episodes. They just switch them all up in different, they paint different, exact same thing. And it's economical. And again, we can obsess over perfection, or you can get the stories going. Like whereas like
people watch this shit.
My grandma's like every 12 seasons of CSI, or I don't know if it's the same thing, but like, you know, just like those where it's like, I look at them, I'm like, oh, these are just the same story, just in a with different elements moved around. And I don't know, humans like stories. So, like, you know, it's like,
it's the same. It's almost the same props in the same location in the same, you know, it's the same exact crew and same kind of arena, but it's a different story, and it's a captivating story, and it's a unique story. But it almost got to a point. They said they casted me in something. I showed up and he goes, bro, we can't use you anymore, man. You've been a detective or a cop in everything, in so much stuff. I'm sorry we called you out. We'll pay you out. You gotta go.
They're starting to write in going, why is the regular now being in that? Why is that you? Like, he's in 5.
This is not a Highlander show, you know. You're not like this immortal detective that's been chasing after every single serial killer, you know.
That is a good. You could do that one, the immortal detective Highlander.
Yep. We should probably start. Oh, I should do a crime show on like all of Connor McLeod's villains. Do a crime show like I'm sure you've seen the series, the Highlander, the series, right?
Yeah.
Remember there was that group, the Watchers, that studied them and documented the immortals.
Yes.
You remember his buddy with the cane that walked with the cane and the limp, and he had a beard, white hair.
Oh, right. Yes.
So he was like one of the members of the Watchers, and they watch and study and document everything the immortals were doing.
So we can just take their scripts and
all their documentations and make a
observation.
Yeah, there you go. There's another low budget web series I can make right there. That's brilliant.
Yeah. It's like it's stuff like that. It's like, how's the story told? Like, just move the camera just over here. Anchor point stays here.
Go that way.
Up here, like I don't know. Observe everything in every. It's like and when you move this, the light, the ideas, the things all change. It's fun sometimes.
Well, like you said, just make shit. Like let's make stuff.
And I'm just as guilty of not, and meaning I'm like, so I'm not. I don't like.
Same here.
I don't like when people are like, oh, we should just make some. It's something I tell myself constantly because I keep doing it because I realize you're tripping over your feet again. Like, you know, it's like just don't look, just keep going.
And I'm guilty of it too. And I have a couple of partners, and they're like, they want quality, and I love them for that. And they're right. You know, it should be quality.
We need them.
We need them. And I'm like, yes. And I'm quick to accept them. They're like, hey, I'm like, yeah, you got to keep me in check when it comes to quality, but I got to keep you motivated to make some shit. Let's make some shit, you know, because there has to be, at some point, there has to be some quantity, you know, like Star Wars. You remember there was only 3 Star Wars movies for a decade and a half. When's there going to be another Star Wars movie? When's there going to be another? They knocked out 3 within a span of 5 years, I think, 6 years. And then it was nothing for like 10 or 15 years. And finally in 99, they made the episode 1, the prequel.
And
they did a couple of, between episode 1 and between Return of the Jedi and Phantom Menace, they did what? Battle of Endor, you know, a couple of those Ewok movies.
Yeah.
They did a couple of animated movies. They did a shitload of video games.
Yeah.
Shitload of video games. A lot of them are great, but then they did Phantom Menace, and there was some you know, like, you know, some
well, they did it so
critiques, you know.
yeah. Like I like
There's
that.
always
There's
always some critiques.
Yeah, yeah. Well, they did. I don't know. I haven't even seen. I don't think I've even seen the last one. They released too fast. Like to me, like, you know, it's like you were saying, there's a time element about when they released the first ones, and then you know, it took a couple of years, but then they waited a long time, and then they did the bam, and it seemed like it went bam, 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 and I was like, whoa, whoa,
And
whoa,
then it
whoa,
was
whoa, whoa.
episode 7, and then a solo movie, and then episode 8, and then a solo movie, then episode 9, and then a solo series.
Yeah.
And now they want to like dabble in series and you know, other solo movies. Not solo movies. When I say solo, I don't mean the
Right. I know.
even though they did a solo movie of Solo. But what I mean is,
right. There was the one right before the last one was the last one I saw. It was the one, I think it was. That's another problem. The brand, the marketing the branding is obviously, it goes, it's pretty bad because I'm into branding and I'm like, wait, which one's the one where the last one near the last scene, Leia goes and put you realize that's where she put the disc into the thing and shows up with the hologram with her, you know, in her basically the first scene from Star Wars when the car.
That's so like, Rogue One.
Rogue One, yes.
So Rogue One. So Rogue One was one of the best. Is one of the best Star Wars movies. Yeah. But it was oh gosh, what do you call it? It was like
an independent little wing of.
I forget what doing. Because you have your anthology, you have your Skywalker saga films.
Yeah.
Your the anthology films, which is episode 1 through 9. But then you have, I guess they were calling them solo films.
Yeah.
Which Rogue One was a solo film, and then Solo. About which was a
I think I've seen it.
Which, what the heck do you call it? It's about a character. It's like a film about a character's backstory.
It's a deep dive.
Oh yeah,
it's a deep dive. It's a character deep dive.
I can't remember the name of it. It's like a background story film of Solo. And that was a solo film. And then there was
channel. It's a biography channel. A character runner.
It was a crime reenactment miniseries on the character Han Solo. Yeah.
Yeah.
For the biography channel. Yeah, exactly. And then and then I think they were supposed to do an Obi-Wan solo film. And then I think that got
hold or something, or
well, it got changed up to be a series like Mandalorian is. It got changed. So it's going to be a Disney Plus series. I think Ewan McGregor finally announced officially, yes, this is happening.
Okay, cool.
I think he announced it like a couple of months ago or something. So that's going to be fun.
Yeah, I think that's my biggest hang up with the Star Wars is the branding on the second half, because it's very easy. Maybe it's because I was obsessed with the first 3 or 4, 5, 6, whatever.
The 4th, 5th, and 6th one.
Why is that bugging so much? I don't know why.
Because that did totally screw up our generation's kind of. No, it's the 1st, 2nd, 3rd one. No, it's not. It's the 4th, 5th, and 6th one.
It's like I'm always like, why do I have to roll my eyes every time? 5, whatever. But like the second part, just the amount of money that had to be put into it, which I understand. It took away the individuality of each one. Like, and it's not. Yeah. And they're all great. Like they're all really beautiful and everything. But so it's always like that. So that's why I'm like, the last one I remember watching is Rogue One. So I know I'm like, they're like, boo. But it just became like, wait, what is this? This one's like, and I'm like, there's just too much work here to figure this out. It should be free flowing and I think I might have been sourpuss because I was still bitter about the first 3. But no, I like them a lot. But I just think they should. Maybe there's something about the Mandalorian which I have to say I haven't seen yet. I'm waiting because I want a lot. I like to just gorge and then go back several times and gorge. Yeah. So I'm like I think now is whenever I should start because they're starting the new one, so I can watch that one and catch up. So I hate that Friday thing. You're like, yeah. So that but I think the idea of the Mandalorian can help them with that need to constantly a quick make something quick as a story, 45 minutes, it's like it's or however, whatever format they're doing, Some ideas might be bad or not the best. Doesn't care. Move on. Keep going. Like, so rather than big, huge production to get, it's like, I view it as an AT-AT kind of in a way, because like it's top heavy. All you got to do is run some string around your idea and it falls over.
Yeah.
Like if it's too, it's just like too top heavy, not a strong idea.
Because all the movies are just as simple as each episode of The Mandalorian.
Yeah.
But they found a way to like
put it out fast
with the whole LED screened warehouse, and they can just plug in. Here's the universe you're living in, plug it in on all the walls, and it's all about acting. It's all about style. They went back to the style of the original, and so you can't call it the first, second, and third Star Wars, but you can call it the original trilogy. That is a proper term. The original trilogy. It goes back to like that spaghetti western. Yeah. That spaghetti western / samurai film in space. And that's what, especially season 2, episode 5, I just finished it like this morning. The latest episode that came out today, season 2, episode 5 of The Mandalorian, is outstanding.
Cool.
It's samurai. It's half of it's a samurai movie, half of it's like a gunslinger with the Mandalorian, and that is what Han Solo was a gunslinger. That's what Luke was trained to be, was a samurai. And George Lucas's inspiration was the samurai movies, the Akira Kurosawa samurai movies from the 30s, 40s, 50s. And another inspiration was the spaghetti westerns with Clint Eastwood, Robert Van Cleef, Fistful of Dollars for a Few Dollars More, Good and Bad and Ugly, the Charles Bronson westerns, the John Wayne westerns, as far as the
I was gonna say with the mythical element of Joseph Campbell.
Yeah. So, the mythical elements and the sci-fi elements,
which is why I think I am kind of bummed about this. That's probably my main beef with the newer ones, is they dropped the sort of the narrative of the apprentice to the master to the thing that Joseph Campbell sort of hero of the thousand faces. For a little more, the newer ones are a little more traditional religious sort of narrative element versus the earlier ones seem to be more, I don't know, Joseph Campbell sort of style hero of the thousand faces. That's probably
I mean, they kind of they try to work on that, sensei with apprentice type of deal with Force Awakens, Last Jedi, Rise of the Skywalker. They worked on that, but I think honestly, as a marketing standpoint, everybody was more quick to jump on a lightsaber than they were a blaster. So even with the original trilogy, it was lightsabers left and right. It wasn't the little blaster. Everyone's seen a Western, but that was the heart and soul, was those spaghetti Westerns and those samurai movies. It was, his original vision was this gunslinger and this samurai working together. And there's been a couple of movies like that. I can't remember the name of it, but there was a movie that, oh geez, this is going to take me. Richard Norton did this kung fu movie. It'll take me, but Richard Norton, and I think that's his name. He's like this old, he was like this famous martial artist back in the, I think he's Australian. He did this freaking movie that I've seen scenes of it, and it looks so freaking good. And it's not The Blood of Heroes. Sword of the Bushido. That's got to be it. Huh. Sword of the Bushido. And I think the samurai comes to the... Nope, definitely not Sword of Bushido. Never mind. Anyways, that's not it. That's not it at all. The samurai comes to the Wild West, and Richard Norton teams up with this samurai. And so that came out after the Star Wars movies. But the essential plot line that I don't think George Lucas realized, he was putting together these two brilliant ideas and inspired someone to actually just straight up do this samurai in the Wild West movie. But you got a samurai and a gunslinger teaming up to take down the evil empire. And everybody loves Han, but let's be honest, everybody wants to be Luke, and everybody wants to have a lightsaber instead of just a little pistol. Everybody wants to be a badass Jedi with a lightsaber. And so that's why 7, 8, and 9 focused more on, all the lightsaber battles. And that's why, Kylo Ren had a lightsaber
certain
with the two little
shield.
blades on the side. Yeah.
Yep.
And that's why in Phantom Menace, Darth Maul had the double-ended, like
Yeah. That was
double-ended lightsaber, and everybody just focused on lightsabers from the 90s on, because that was really the more marketable idea behind Star Wars, was these lightsabers. But the Mandalorian took it back to that very first Star Wars. It was like, you know, bounty hunter, you know, a rebel in the a true rogue rebel throughout the galaxy. It's a perfect time. The Mandalorian takes place right after Return of the Jedi, so the Empire, for the most part, fell. It was trying to rebuild, and they're up to no good. You have a couple of Jedi trying to stop the little remnants of the Empire that are up to no good, and the Mandalorian's just kind of stuck in the middle of it, trying to do the best he can. But
he's just trying to make some money.
Make some money, collect some bounties, and then he gets stuck on a greater quest that he had no intention of getting involved in.
He's like, no, I'm only interested in 30-day net. Why do I have to get pulled into
baby Yoda? This kid's powers are way beyond my even understanding. I want nothing to do with it. No, got to take care of this kid, man. So I mean, yeah, it's a fantastic story. And there again is your, no spoilers here, because you know it hasn't been addressed yet. But I can foresee this master, not necessarily master, but teacher and apprentice. But you got like this, you know, bounty hunter that eventually I foresee this bounty hunter becoming the teacher to a very powerful, soon to be powerful force working Jedi.
Yeah.
But the Mandalorian is going to be the teacher to this soon to be next greater version of Yoda, you know?
Yes.
So it's an incredible series.
I've been saving it up because I want to just,
oh my God. I can't save it up. The second it's out, I gotta watch the next one.
Oh no, I know. I just feel it. I feel it with other things, and just run through it. Not run but just There's nothing worse than going, I want to watch that next one.
Yeah, and I'm sitting like, it's not Friday yet.
Yeah, you're like, oh boy, okay. So if I can make it to Wednesday with that one project, and then they'll approve it, and, and then I'll be like, and then I can get to Friday. Okay, cool.
And if I can wrap out early, if I can wrap it out by Thursday night, I can sleep in Friday and then watch Mandalorian. Right? Yep.
And we're gonna have that company on Friday afternoon. There's gonna be the lunch, and then we can just run out together. Yeah. So
I get it, man. I get it.
So yeah, but I am gonna definitely watch the Mandalorian soon.
Hells yeah, man. Hells yeah. Well, it's worth it. And another great note is Carl Weathers is not only an awesome character in the show, he's directing episodes now too, this guy.
Oh.
Yeah. Nice. It's incredible. Carl Weathers is. So I'm glad he's if he's directing a Star Wars project in any way, shape, or form, he's killing it now.
Yeah.
Well, before we close out, any plugs, links, socials you wanna put out there?
You see, just my Instagram. It's a C Danieley, which is DANIELEY. I'll just post prints and stuff there, and different. It's less my commercial outlet. It's more just experimental that I'll bring to the commercial stuff.
Okay,
that's about all.
Hell yeah. Awesome. Well, Chad, I can't thank you enough for coming on. It was a blast, and
thanks, Glenn. It was great.
Yeah, great ideas. It was great. It was great talk. I hope to my viewers, I hope I've earned the privilege of your time and viewership. I know my guest has learned a lot. I continue to be inspired by you and past guests, and just learning a lot more and just thinking about more creative things I can do, especially in these times.
Yes.
So it was awesome having you on, man. I can't thank enough for coming on. And
thank you very much. Thank you.
Yeah, awesome. So to my viewers, you know what to do.